Now, it's possible, I suppose, that if we only ever saw the police officer at work, we could easily form a one-dimensional caricature of him as a violent monster. Imagine an alien comes to Earth without any concept of police officers at all and sees this taking place. A man in a blue uniform running around the city, raiding homes, beating people with batons, tasering them, blasting them with water cannons, shooting them, cuffing them and throwing them into barred cages. The alien could easily see this guy in that context alone and think, wow, what a bully this guy is. What an evil monster to go around doing that to other people. And similarly, if the alien only ever saw the officer at home, he might come up with another caricature from the complete opposite direction. You might see him playing with dolls on the floor with his daughter and think that he was rather simple-minded, this guy. When he sees that little children are able to pin him to the floor at wrestling, the alien might think that he was extraordinarily weak. Wow, what a softie this guy is, what a simpleton. Whichever side the alien witnesses, he may have a great deal of difficulty believing that another side could possibly exist within the same person. But this is only because the alien doesn't understand the fullness of human character. The truth is that the officer isn't just a violent monster, and he's not just a simple softie either. Those would just be one-dimensional caricatures. And while there would be an element of truth in each caricature, neither would give a complete or balanced portrayal of the man. It's only when you put his hard and soft virtues together that you get the whole picture. I've sometimes been guilty of this when I've seen boxing on TV. I've sometimes watched a bruised and bloodied warrior going to battle in the ring, teeth clenched, muscles flexed, veins popping, aggression written all over his face as he sets to work trying to pound his opponent into an incapacitated state of unconsciousness. And in those moments I've sometimes thought to myself, wow, you wouldn't want to meet this guy in a dark night. He is a monster. Look at this violence. I'd be surprised if he makes it through life without murdering anyone. It is very difficult to witness that level of aggression, and in that moment, square it with the knowledge that once this boxer steps out of the ring and goes home to his wife and kids, he'll be the kindest, most gentle soul imaginable. And yet when you do see boxers outside of the ring, they often are. So we have to be careful not to deal in cartoons. We have to remember that all good human beings are, at appropriate times, going to demonstrate both the virtue sets. Think of the soldier who fights and kills terrorists abroad and then comes home to rescue flood victims. Think of the teacher who dishes out strict punishments in the classroom because a pupil cheated and then lavishes praise on the same child when he works hard to improve his behaviour and aces the next test. Think of the CEO who fires one employee for laziness and then rewards another gladly with a bonus for doing a fine job. Think of the personal trainer who drills his clients with punishing circuits and then presents them with a piece of cake to celebrate reaching their weight target. Think of the judge who condemns a rapist to prison to pay for his crimes and then who gladly pardons an innocent man who is falsely accused. Think of the parent who has to discipline their child because they lied or stole, but then smothers them with hugs and kisses the next day because they just love them that much. All human beings have to demonstrate the hard virtues and the soft virtues at the right times. And now let's think not of human beings, but of God. Because if we understand that humans must demonstrate both the hard and soft virtues to be considered good, then how much more is this true of God? Indeed, isn't it clear that if God is absolutely good, then he wouldn't just demonstrate the hard and soft virtues as we humans do, but that he would demonstrate them perfectly. What I mean is, there would be nothing harder than God's hardness. He wouldn't only be just, holy, righteous and true as we humans are, he would be perfectly just, righteous, holy and true. He wouldn't just demand a little morality, he would demand total moral perfection. He wouldn't just punish evil, he would utterly annihilate it, leaving no trace. And he wouldn't just be a little uncomfortable to watch like the good police officer was when he was in action, he would be terrifying beyond all comprehension. And yet at the same time, there would be nothing softer than God's softness either. He wouldn't just be loving and merciful and kind as we humans can be, he would be perfectly loving, merciful and kind. He wouldn't just show a little affection, but he would love like no one's ever loved. He wouldn't just be patient, he would be patient to the nth degree. And he wouldn't just forgive, but he would forgive beyond all reason. And if this is all true, then isn't it then clear that God's perfect embodiment of the hard and soft virtue sets would then make him very easy to caricature either as a violent monster or a simple softie, again depending on the side of his nature that's been witnessed. That's exactly what tends to happen. By a very large distance, the most common way that people misunderstand God's nature is when they witness only his hard virtues or his soft virtues in isolation, and then like the ignorant alien, they jump to this imbalanced conclusion about what God must be like. In other words, having seen one aspect of his character, they find it very difficult to grasp that another aspect could possibly exist within the same person. Sometimes people do it deliberately. It's easier to dismiss a God who's been caricatured in this way. Others do genuinely seek God, or at least bear him no ill feeling, but they have internal biases about what they believe God should be like, and so they take the parts of his character that they like and are comfortable with, and they leave the rest. Or they do it this way: they take all this stuff and they leave that behind, and thus they end up with a God who is either a hard, terrifying monster or just a weak, timid softie. Take Richard Dawkins' view of God, for example. As one of the most prominent fathers of new atheism, he once described God as arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction, jealous and proud of it, a petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak, a vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully. The Portuguese Nobel laureate José Saramago said something very similar. He called God cruel, spiteful, vengeful, jealous, and unbearable. Now, where could they be getting such a monstrous image of God from? Well, they would say they're getting it from the Bible. They're pointing to Old Testament stories where God destroys cities and sends plagues and floods and demands the destruction of idols, and they're shouting, "What a bully this is! What an evil monster to do all of these things!" But then there are people like Douglas Adams, the famous writer who penned Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He once said that Jesus was nailed to a tree for saying how great it would be if people were nice to each other for a change. Honestly, that's all he thought Jesus came to say. Be nice to each other, won't you please? What a simpleton, what a softie. Adam's view of Jesus is that he was just a hippie, basically, who went around holding up two fingers and calling for peace and love. Now, why Adams thought that anyone would be crucified for preaching mere niceness is anyone's guess. And the fact that Jesus was crucified should hint that he did have slightly more controversial and divisive things to say. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. The interesting thing for now is merely just that two different people read the exact same Bible and came up with polar opposite views of who God is. Both, I'm sure, thought that they had a true grip on God's character, but like the ignorant alien, both only had a one-dimensional caricature, which, while undoubtedly containing an element of the truth, doesn't give a balanced or complete portrayal of God's nature. So let's fix that. Over the next few parts, let's now spend some time dismantling these two misconceptions.